Nathan Green, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. I said 2 seconds ago you go by Nathan and not Nate. Most Nathans I know go by Nate. I have an uncle Nate, even though
Yeah.
he's official name is Nathan. What's the reasoning behind this?
Um, my mom, when I was really young, we had obviously there's a bunch of people named Nathan in the world. And my mom, when I was young, we were playing cause I was on the Little League football team, and there were two Nathans. At one point, there were three, and the coach tried calling me Nate, and my mom was like, "No, his birth certificate is Nathan. He's not Nate. He's not Nathaniel. Call him by his name, and that's Nathan. It's done deal." It's like, all right, we'll just go with that. I'm not I don't have that strong of an opinion on it. I would prefer being called Nathan, but if people call me Nate, it's like, yeah, whatever. It
Not the
works.
end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the viewers on YouTube, maybe this will incentivize more people to go over there, subscribe if you do hop over there. Beautiful views in the background. Take the people through what's your where you're at and what you're doing.
So
Not a bad work for you.
the cross country team and we are in Cle Elum, Washington. We are on a golf course in Suncadia. It is a beautiful resort. We are in a mansion. It's kind of a hard to see, but we got a house for our sophomores and some of our upperclassmen, and we got the big house. Everybody's got a nice room. Everybody's taken care of. We have a massive kitchen. We have big open spaces. I can see through the window right now, and there's 10 guys in there watching TV together. We're all watching going through nature documentaries, and we've got the pond, so we go fishing. But anyways, we just come up here every year before season starts, and we get the team together. We huddle in, and then we train super hard and go out in cross country, and we just run super hard. It's just a good startup for everybody.
How important do you think it is to have those conversations before you really get down to those hard workouts, those races, and really set the vision for where you want the team to be that year, specifically yourself as you're kind of ascending to leadership in the team
Yeah,
and becoming an old wise man? What's kind of the take on setting the vision early
old
on in the
man.
season?
Yeah. Some of the freshmen have called me Unk recently, and that's kind of tough. I am officially old, but um, yeah, I think it's extremely important. It sets the tone and it sets the precedent of what we're gonna do for the rest of the year. And I think it's extremely important. I think this is the greatest time of the year because everybody's a pro. All we do is run and we eat food together, we laugh together, and we just hang out. One of our new transfers, Cole Lindhorst, who was from Texas, he came in and he's just such a great addition to our team. He brings a bunch of golf balls and a bunch of golf clubs, and we're out on the par here. And we're just chipping away and we're just enjoying the time and having golf. Um, but then we come together for team meetings and stuff, and we address goals, and you can see them immediately come into effect as we're running reps and as we're running together and we're breaking into groups. And we have a 20-man team, which is the biggest it's ever been since I've been here. Usually we have about 15, maybe 10, yeah, around 15 guys. But everybody here, these meetings are keeping people straight, they're keeping people happy, and this is the most energetic and most tight-knit team I've ever seen. And I think that just carries into the rest of the year because it's yeah, we spend all this time together playing games, watching movies, playing golf, fishing, and running, and it carries into the rest of the year because I'll be on a cross country course everyone saw it at Pac-12s last year, and it was me and Evan Jenkins, even though I may not be, on paper the greatest cross guy, I was able to just look at Evan and pull from him and be I've spent so much time with this guy. I'm so willing to give everything I can for him and the rest of this team because they're my best friends. Because then it becomes less of a team and it's more like family. Um, I think that that's what we get out of this camp, and I think it's one of the greatest things we pull away.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but well, I know Luke is for sure off the team because
Yeah,
he signed with the Brooks Beasts, and
Brooks,
then Joe, I also believe,
Adidas.
yeah,
Yeah,
went with Adidas, and I think he's still in town, right? Still
yeah.
training with the guys. Yeah, yeah,
Andy's still his coach. He's individually
yeah,
contracted through Adidas. Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah.
And
So
Luke,
for
Brooks is just a great choice, and he made a really, really good choice. He's going to be training with some really good guys, and he's going to run out of his mind. The
Not
guys,
bad to train with a Olympic silver medalist in your event.
yeah, not,
So
not bad.
yeah, and so last conversation, obviously, and anytime I've had Joe on the podcast, we've talked. The three of you are like more than brothers, right?
Yeah.
For you now, you're the last man on the team. What's the dynamic there? Where I'm sure you miss those guys, but it's also like carrying on the values and the standards those
Yeah.
guys set, and trying to teach it to the new guys on the team.
Yeah. For me, it's like, it is going to be a little bit harder because since my freshman year, when I first came here, like all that I've ever known is winning a title. Like, we went 5 straight, which is absolutely incredible. It probably can never be replicated again. I hope that it's done again by some other team in some other era. It'll probably be done again by, you know, you dub it again at some point because Andy knows how to get it done. Um, but what we mainly pulled from those guys and from my experience was like how to be completely selfless for your team and for the people that are around you. And this camp and like this team, like, I mean, as tight as I am, I mean, I've known Joe and Luke for the past like 8 years, like before college. It's a huge reason why I joined was because I knew them and because Joe especially like I'm still like Luke obviously close to Luke, but like Joe and I, like we've been best friends for probably the past like 8 years. So like when a lot of people say like, oh yeah, like I don't care if he beats me, I don't care. It's like a lot of people aren't being real, but with Joe and I, like it's such a unique relationship because I truly deeply mean it. And like with Luke, it's like I'm so happy when he crossed the line in first. And we're just trying to instill that in these guys here because like we have a really powerful group, we have a really young group, and we have a group that's extremely talented. And if we can come together and do what me, Luke, and Joe did and just put our heads down and work for each other, we can have one of the best teams in the NCAA this year. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams out there, and there's a lot of teams that really care about each other. But I think that if we can just be the team that looks in the most and loves each other the most, we can be the best team. So that's kind of where I'm at is like trying to teach these guys that like nobody is above anybody else. Like my PRs don't matter, my status doesn't matter. Like who I am as a person is what matters, and how much I'm willing to give to them is what matters. And if they can see that, and if they can embody that motion and that ideology, we are going to be very strong together. Because like it doesn't matter if you're a 330 guy or a 340 guy or a 350 guy, you can impact the team in extremely big ways without being a point scorer. And that's just like where we're at with our team, and that's what Joe really instilled in me, and so did Luke, and that's that's what I want to carry on through this.
Those who have listened to our conversation know that you are very team focused in a way in which I feel like I've never spoken to another athlete who's like as selfless as you. And I think a lot of people were inspired by our last conversation in terms of like, oh wow, I could really step up for my team. Coming from Mr. Team himself, Nathan Green, how would you describe like what are attributes of a good teammate and things that people at home can embody to be better for their team?
I think being a good teammate, without giving out too much of the secret sauce, I mean, I think it's just the embodiment of like, I love these people, I care about what I'm doing, and I'm here to make everybody around me better. And if you can do that in your own unique way, everybody will get better with you. And I mean, a lot of teams and a lot of people who listen to this or don't listen to this, like a lot of people will embody it for like a week, maybe like a couple weeks, and then it kind of fades away. But like our team is very driven at taking care of each other. And like there's a lot of different people, like Jamar, like for example, um, he may have dealt with some injuries here and like he's dealt with some like hardship in his life, but throughout the entirety of his time here at UW, he shows up to practice every day with a smile and a good morning, and he doesn't complain, and he just works. That is bringing everybody else up. And it's simple things that bring everybody up. So as far as like especially like in high school when you really can focus on like being a team driven person, like just showing up with a smile, a good attitude, and like being ready to go, like that travels a very long way. And like there's a lot of people on our team who have like struggled with injury, and they've come from the depths of hell and back and forth. Like a good name is like Leo Dashball. Like everybody knows Leo, and he's still on the up and coming. He had a great season last season, and like he's dealt with years of like hard lessons to be learned through like his own like personal health, like just injuries and like basic things that happen as you go through life. But that is one of the most resilient guys I know, and he's one of the people that always brings others up, whether it's a quick joke, it's a smile, or it's just like just being a good human and like taking care of others. He is one of the greatest teammates I've ever had, and maybe ever will have.
You kind of spoke to this there about the guys who maybe don't directly contribute to the team, but the ways in which they contribute to the team at practice and ultimately how that affects you guys on race day. I think a lot of times, like, people think that the 10th man or 11th man on the team, doesn't really matter. Or coaches, I think wrongly, a lot of times will not give them the attention that they give their top three or whatever it might be, like those immediate scores. Can you talk to actually how crucial it is that the bottom guys, like, a lot of times they set the foundation for the team.
They
And
do.
as you said, even the attitude they bring to practice
They
will
do.
affect those top
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's like exactly they are the foundation of the team, because like these 10th guys, like people put them on the bottom of the totem pole, but like these are the same guys that like like Will Laird, for example. Like I love Will Laird. He is one of my best friends. This guy like is somebody that I value to one of the highest degrees because of how kind he was to me, how much he lifted me up, and how much he helped me in races and practice. I mean, everyone's gonna like look over his name, or because that's like from a running standpoint, which is just like disrespectful, because the guy did 4 events at Pac-12s and single-handedly made it possible for us to win our 2023 title. I mean, the guy did the 15, the 8, the 5K, and the 4x1, and he made it possible for me to make it to regionals in the prelim of the 1500 by just going out and just running as hard as he could. And like without that, I might not have made regionals and I might not have won my title. And that's something that like the foundation is set. That's somebody who just was completely selfless and was like, yeah, I've got to double back in 45 minutes after this and run an 800, but I'm going to go and give it everything I got. And he did it without complaint. He did it without a thank you. Well, we all thanked him, but he was like, no, no thanks necessary. I'm doing it because I love you guys. Like, then he went out and he did it in the 800, and like, then he went out and did the 5K, and then we needed a 4x1 guy, and he just slotted himself in. And we actually scored a point from that because somebody dropped a baton. Like, but it's like these foundational players, like, and like we've run so many miles together. He's paced me through so many workouts. This guy, like, although it might be that like you'll see my name on the board, or you'll see Joe's name on the board, or Luke's name, or Leo, or any of the multiple guys that scored for us, like Will Laird and people like Will Laird drive our. And it's not like he's a bad runner either. Everyone's like, oh, like these 10th guys. Like Will Laird is still a four flat guy. This guy is not like he's still improving. Like he just like even there's his time outside of the NCAA, he's still improving and he's still showing up. And like these 10th, 11th, 12th guys, like 8 through 12, like they're still monumental in our success, and like a lot of people can attest to it, and I will be the first one to say, like, no matter where you think you are on this team or any team, you are welcome and you are loved and you are appreciated. And Will is one of those people, especially. I mean, the guy sacrificed countless races just to like pace us through and push us to the next level. And by the way, he did make the 1500 final, and he in the 5K paced out like our like 3, 4, 5 guys that ended up scoring. And not only that, he did it with a smile on his face, and he never complained, and he earned his ring, and he's one of the best teammates we've ever had again. Like it's those guys that just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm getting. I'm so appreciative of where I am. A Yale guy, like a really smart guy. Like yeah, it's really really cool.
Definition of a dog right there, literally.
He's a
Not trying to.
true.
Yeah,
Will
even with the UW reference there.
yeah, go dogs.
Yeah, one of my buddies, who I raced against in high school, he ended up going on to run for Xavier School in the Big East. Not remarkably good school, but he walked on, has an incredible journey, And he had a very similar mindset that I look up to this day, where he's like, I probably won't make the Big East squad. And even if I did, I like wouldn't score for the team. So my whole goal is to push these guys in workouts to new levels that they
Yeah,
couldn't, so that when they go to Big East, they're ready to do
yeah,
some damage.
and
And
that's
it's like, man, you got to find those people. I mean, that is the definition of selflessness.
yeah, and we have a very selective process with who we recruit, who we bring onto the team. It's very exact, and like we have three new freshmen this year: Nathan Neal from Bozeman, Parker Mong from Anacortes, Washington, and Martin Barco is from all all the way across the like Midwest. I don't even know Indianapolis, like wherever that is, but like these guys, like, we kind of told them like, hey, like it is a bit harder. Like this is going to be like a challenging time period. Like this is going to be the most work you've ever done and the hardest work you've ever done. And their responses weren't like fear or like, oh, I'm not going to score. I'm not going to be on. It was like, all right, well, I'm here to make this team better. Like I'm going to dedicate my first year to making this team better. And these guys they can definitely score at our conference meets. They can definitely make regionals and maybe even make nationals, but their first mindset is I'm going to help this team. And like a lot of freshmen don't do that. And like we got exceptionally fortunate with these freshmen. These guys are standout guys on and off the track. Like they are exceptionally great, and I can't wait to see what they do. I mean, maybe they have a little bit of a growth year because it is freshman year. It's hard for everybody, but like, it was hard for me. It was hard for everybody in the room. I'm not sure Edward Cheserek. Like it's going to be a hard year. But these guys are just taking it on, and they're not backing down, and they're running hard. It's really cool.
Do you think it's important? And if so, because I think you'll say yes, how important do you think it is to spend that time with each other, doing things outside of practice, like you're doing right now, fishing with each other, hitting
Yeah,
golf balls, cooking? And because I think a lot of times, like in high school specifically, but also collegians have this mindset where it's like, gonna show up to practice, and then I'm gonna go to like my regular friends, and I don't
yeah,
want to spend time with them because I
yeah.
spent time with them this morning. What's your kind of take on that?
I mean, I think as much time as you can spend with these people, you should, because your time in the NCAA is more often than not, unless you get to like the sixth year, seventh year, like your time in the NCAA is incredibly short. And like these people around you, like they're built-in friends, and there's time for downtime, and there's time when you should be away from people because everyone has like a fuse. I mean, like Andy and I and Chris and I are like exceptionally close, like me and the coaches, but like there's like a minimum of like 2 3 weeks where we don't talk to each other at all, we don't see each other at all, because like, and I love them and I see them like my family, and like these are people that have helped me through the greatest challenges in my life, but like you got to spend time away. But like with these guys, it's like the same thing. But like when we come back together, we're super strong, and like I would spend hours with these guys and never get bored. And it is really important to be with these guys, and it is really important to me. Like I think that like in the grand scheme of things, like you're gonna spend years alone. You're gonna spend years without a team. You're gonna spend years without a group, and like whether you're a super social person or not, like these are the guys that are going to shape the rest of your life. And if you can be successful with a team like this or like any other team, and you can mobilize as a unit, and you can come together as one, and you can be friends with everybody and happy with anybody in any situation, it'll set you up for life. And I think that spending as much time as you can with people around you is just extremely important. Um, yeah.
Talking about this upcoming cross season, ambitions for it, as well as just general takes on UW's transition to the Big Ten. You're in the Midwest now.
Yeah, we are in the Midwest. Whatever. Chase the money, I guess. I mean, I'll tell you what, Big Ten money is real. We took a step up. We were at dinner 4 times a week because Pac-12, good conference. I'm gonna miss it for sure, but didn't have as much money. We went from dinner 4 nights a week, and now we got dinner 5 nights a week, lunch and breakfast. Like we have to switch to a whole new dining hall because our original one wasn't big enough. Like, and they renovated this. They're putting in a new basketball arena. Like the Big Ten money is crazy. I'm so thankful for it, but. Our goal
You're
system.
like Joe and Luke. You missed out. Like, take that COVID year.
Yeah, take that. Yeah, they honestly they actually could have, but they got to chase another bag.
True, true.
they got paid, but they're the ambitions for this season is just for us to compete hard and to compete together. I mean, we didn't have a great outing last year, so we got too caught up in what was going to be or what was next or who we wanted to be, and it ended up kind of stunting our growth. And I think this year our whole goal is just to compete hard and compete together and just bring some life into our program. Personal goals, I just want to be the guy that when the team needs me, they can call me and I'll be there. Whether it's Nutty Comb or pre-nats or regionals or conference or nationals itself, like I don't really care. I'm here for it and I'm here for these boys. And I mean, it was just like the same thing as last year. I just showed up at conference when they needed me and I just sent my life away. It ended up being a great race. We got second as a team and it set us up well. But yeah, I mean, we just got to take it one race at a time and just keep competing as hard as we can every time. And I think we'll have a good season.
A guy like you know, you put yourself in the 8, the 15, and I can't really list off many guys who could beat you consistently in those two events. And then you go to the grass in the 10K, whole new territory. You know, there are guys that just are made for cross country 10Ks. Your gift in life is probably more on the track and in around the 15. Although, call me a hater, maybe you'll prove me wrong and bring a
Yeah,
natty home in Wisconsin because of this combo. But what's that kind of shift like for you? Obviously, this part of the season does build you up for a successful track season, both from a training perspective, the mental break off from like hard track stuff, all that stuff. But how do you like mentally shift that on of like, this isn't my gift, this isn't what I'm best at, but I'm still
yeah,
going to dedicate the same amount of energy I would if it was gearing up for the NCAA 1500 meter
yeah.
championship?
Um, I think for the most part, I mean, this doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me. Actually, it works for a lot of people, but I think it just works for me the best. Um, I've been through a lot of hardship, and I've been through things that I'd rather not ever revisit, except for when I race. And I mean, when I'm in a cross country race, it's just I love to relish in that pain, and I love to be there, and I love to work hard and just get rid of my ego because it's as my good friend Jake Anglar said, a pole vaulter who transferred from Wazoo to Washington, had a great breakout season when he came here, got third in the NCAA, and like it against a star-studded crew. Like we were out and also in Washington, we were climbing these like the rocks in the side of a mountain, and he was like, "It's just starving the ego and feeding the soul," and that's just what cross country is. And I love that. I love that feeling. I love that grind. And I mean, Pac-12 cross. That's like all I was doing was just like starving the ego and feeding the soul. And I mean, with Evan Jenkins in tow, like we were in a pack of Oregon and Stanford guys, and we were just barking at each other and we're having a good time. And I ended up getting third in that 8K, and Evan ended up getting like eighth, and we just worked hard. And then we go to regionals cross, and like it may not be my thing, but when it's a battle of fitness, other people might win. But if it's a battle of mental fortitude, I think I can pull it out. I mean, for regionals, I got 17th, and like I had no business being in that pack, and I had no business being up there. But I ended up finishing up high, and it was just I'm just willing to grind, and I'm willing to hurt, and I don't think anybody can take that away from me. And um, what helps me flip the switch is just like going back to like where I came from, who I would have been if I wasn't good at running, because it would have been trade or military. And that would suck. So I'm not going back to that. But I'm very fortunate to just have a job that takes left turns and I run hard. Um, and it's really easy to run hard also when you're just running for other people. So that's kind of where I go, and that's what flips the switch for me is just thinking of like where I could be versus where I'm at, and where can I go from here.
I know you're a really honest guy, so I feel like I can ask you this
Yeah,
question. How often do you reflect on what you just said there of like where you would be if it wasn't for the sport and the
yeah,
different reality and the fact that I'm sure most of your competitors and many of your teammates even like are come from like very privileged backgrounds where if running didn't work out, like they would still
yeah,
be set up for life. How much does that fuel the fire for your pursuits within the sport, and how grateful
yeah.
are you for the simple act of, as you said, turning left on a track?
I think about it a lot. because as everyone has, like, there are lapse in motivation. There is a lapse in like what should I do, like judgment or stuff like that. But I mean, it rings in my head a lot because I know how close I was to not having this lifestyle. I mean, I'm in there's golfers nearby, like a $5 million house sitting on a pond, and all I have to do is cook for my friends and run. Versus being in some hole somewhere with a rifle on my shoulder or doing something that I have no business doing, or like I'm welding or I'm on poles or I'm logging. Like, it goes through my mind a lot, because I know how close I was to not having a UW education or even a Boise State education or like a number of the things that I have now. I mean, like, through the fortunate way of my sport and the way that I was able to figure my way out, and like through hard work and talent, like, it's unbelievable to be here. And like, I reflect a lot with my mom, honestly. Like, my mom is my biggest supporter and she's my biggest fan. And like, we talk about it a lot because like there were Christmases where like we couldn't, like everyone's like, oh, like, yeah, Santa was real for them until they were like 10 years old. Like, I knew Santa wasn't real when I was like 5, like 6. Like, it's I knew that wasn't real. I Because my family couldn't afford things like that. Like, we were on the poverty line, if not below it, most of the time. But like, that was just life, and that's okay. And I'm not mad about it. I don't hold any grudges against people who had a privileged life. I like a guy like, I'm not gonna name drop, but there are guys like on our team who have never had to worry about that, and I could not be more happy for them because they're not dickheads. Like, they're not bad people. It's just different circumstances. But I know that for me, like, that's a fire. I can't go back to that lifestyle, and I can't be somebody who doesn't give 100% of everything I have just because it hurts, or because it's boring, or because it's laborious, or because it's not what everybody wants to do. Like, I'm willing to put in that work and I'm willing to hurt because I know all the struggles my mom went through to get me to this point. And I know all the things that she had to go through. And even there's a lot that I don't know still, but I know how hard she had to work and how much she had to go through to even just put me in the position to have food, clothes, roof, and like, I got to do everything else. She held my hand all the way to where I'm at now. It would be disrespectful to my mom if I didn't give it everything I had. And my mom's gonna love me no matter what because it's my mom, and
Right.
she's my best friend, and I love my mom. But it's not that like I owe her, but I want to do this for her. And thankfully now, like, my stepdad, like, he is extremely hardworking. He's extremely determined, and he pulled like our family out of like the hardest times we possibly ever could have faced. And he is an extremely upstanding man, and he is undoubtedly one of the best figureheads in my life, and I love him with everything I have. And now we're in a financial position, like, as a family, where like, yeah, like, we can have a boat, we can have a nice house, and my little brothers now, like, they don't have to worry about those things, and like, they got the Nintendo Switch, and they got like our dog's happy, and like, everything's really cool, and it's so good to see, and I'm so happy. But like, we were this close to not having that, and I was this close to not being having this conversation, and it all like could have gone away in a heartbeat. But here I am, and I'm so thankful. And if I ain't doing it for me and I ain't doing it for this team, I'm doing it for my mom. And I'm telling you right now, I'm never going to give up because I love my mom more than I love anything else in this world. And I would do anything necessary to prove that. And if that's just running hard, I'll run hard.
I think something a lot of people struggle with who have come from a lot more than you have and
Yeah.
have a lot less reason to make excuses, do one of two things. Either they hold a ton of resentment in their heart for their circumstances, or two, they make a ton of excuses. I don't know what's going on with this app today. What are these balloons? um, People on YouTube are gonna get a kick out of this one.
Yeah.
And terrible point of the conversation for balloons to
Yeah.
pop up, but we continue on. F it, we ball, as they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, make excuses, and it really prohibits them from doing much in life because they have this victim mentality. Even if they have every right to make excuses,
Right.
what's your general thought on excuses and resentment and how they hold people back?
I think if you resent the experiences that made you who you are today, you're going to hate who you're going to be tomorrow. And if you hate who you are tomorrow, you're never going to be able to reach your full potential. And you will always face a wall, whether it's emotional, physical, or mental. And I mean, shit just happens, or stuff just happens. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be miserable. It's going to be something that changes your life. And if it changes your life, that's a, that's a good thing. Like, and like, I'll be honest, like there was a time, like especially in my freshman year, where like there was part of me that like was mad at like why we didn't do it, why didn't we have this? Like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. Like, why couldn't we? And then I was like, that's just not who I was. And like I fell into this trap because of like some of the people that I was around at the time, who thankfully were not on the team very long. Um, like, and Joe was one of the people to pull me out of this too. That's why like I have so much love and respect for Joe, is because he was like, dude, like that's not who you are. I know that's not who you are. You're not somebody to complain about things you didn't have. So stop. And then like I talked with Chris, our assistant coach, Chris Kwiatkowski, like, and he was just like, yeah, like what are you hung up on? Like, I remember one time I came into his office and I was like, my freshman year, and I was like pouting or over something stupid, like oh, like they closed our snack shack too early, and I couldn't get a bagel in time. And he was like, he like looked up from his work, and he had been working all day long. It was like 4:30, and he shows up at 8 a.m. if not earlier every day to help set things up, to get things right, to make sure everything's in line for us to have a perfect practice. And I come in bitching, or complaining and moaning about stupid things. And he looks up from his work and he's like, Nathan, what is so hard about your life? And I just stood there and I was like, I have no idea. I'm sorry for complaining. But like, for people that do that, it's like, it held me back so much. Like, in my own personal experience, like my freshman fall. And like, it'll just hold you back and it'll bring you down and it'll stop you from being who you're supposed to be. And like that victim mentality strikes all of us at some point in our time. At some point in our lives, we will fall prey to it. That's just who it's human. But if you don't surround yourself with people who will slap you across the mouth and tell you not to do that, like, you're gonna drown in your own self pity, remorse, and depression. And like, it's okay to fall into that pit for a little bit, but you better get back up. And for people who have more but want to be a victim and want to like kind of do this thing, like, I mean, like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, if that's what you need to be successful, go for it. Like, sure, like you can fake it and pretend it and it can work for some time, but ultimately you need to be your own person and you need to be who you really are, or you're not going to be successful. Like, Joe's family, like, Joe never went without, but Joe is somebody who is so appreciative of what he had growing up, and and like Joe did not have an easy life all the time. Like, that is not what I'm trying to say, but like Joe is so appreciative of the lessons his dad and mom gave him about financial literacy, how to be a good person, how to treat people well. Like, Joe is his own person, and that's why he's so successful. He didn't have to like struggle the way that other families did, but you would never know that about him because he doesn't shove it in your face. You know, like, Joe's not the kind of guy to flex his money on you or talk about how like well off his family is. Like, they're just such a humble, good family, and they're some of the best. The Wascom family is unbelievably kind, and if you ever met them, like, they would treat you like family without even knowing you. It's incredible. Where like a lot of people don't, but Joe is somebody who is so well within himself and he is so good about being his own person. He is super successful because of it. He doesn't have a victim mentality. He doesn't complain about things that he doesn't have. Like, he doesn't complain about anything really. Like he just works and he works and he works and he works. And when I've actually asked him about this too, and he was just like, yeah, well, like why would I not work because I'm in this position? Like, of course he has, like, he's an extremely smart guy. Of course he has things he can fall back on. But he's like, this is what I love. This is what my parents want me to do. They set me up for this position. They had all these things like set up for me to be successful. Why would I not capitalize on them? But his parents just raised him better than to like, oh well, I have all this money and I don't need to like work hard and I don't like. He's like, nah, fuck all, just, like forget all that. Like he just goes hard. So the people who can't really wrap their head around that, just remember that no matter how much money you have, no matter where you come from, there's always going to be somebody who works harder than you, that has that little scrap more of talent than you, that will beat you out if you don't work hard. Because, like NXN, my sophomore year, um, junior year, probably junior year, there was this summit. They like talked to us, and it was people like Evan Jager. There was Centrowitz. It was like like Flanagan, like some of the greatest runners of our time. And their main point was like, what is your why? Like, what is going to drive you to the next point? What is going to drive you to this great peak of whatever you're trying to achieve? And like, they brought up Serena Williams, who's like, everyone I'm sure has seen King Richard, like the story of how Serena's dad like had to like fight, advocate, push hard, and like ultimately create the two greatest tennis players of all time. And like her why, although she may not have come from great origins, from Oakland, she beat everybody out because she just wanted it more and she was more talented and she didn't have a victim mentality. But like somebody else in her position with more money, with more talent, probably couldn't have done the same thing. So what I say to all the people who do have that mentality and they are like, well, I didn't have this, or this. It's like, man, just shut up and work. Put your head down and work. Like, nobody cares. This sport is so unforgiving. Like, in 1 year, you will be forgotten no matter your accomplishment. Like, I won nationals my sophomore year, junior year. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that because it doesn't matter anymore. Unless you're winning every single title and you are the greatest of all time. But even then, like, people don't bring up Edward Cheserek in conversation as much because it's like, we're years past that. I still do because like he's a really good person and he's really relevant to us because Andy coached him. But like grand scheme of things, like people don't really talk about that, which I think is extremely disrespectful because he is one of the greatest runners of all time and he should be referenced more often. But like, man, just shut up and work. Who cares? Like, just shut up and
Yeah.
nobody's gonna care in a year. Let's just go for it. Like, who cares?
One
Like,
of
what
my favorites
up here it doesn't. You're over. It's over.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings that you kind of said there, but and I don't know who said this to me, but nobody cares, work harder,
Yeah,
which I
nobody
think
cares.
is so good,
Like,
so good.
like
Basically, what you're saying, and then another, what you were saying there, which is so good, so good, reminds me of a tweet from a guy named Alex Hormozy, genius mind, and he tweeted this a year ago. So granted, his timeline is 24 months, not 12 months, but the post is the Queen of England died 12 months ago. She ruled a nation and accumulated more wealth than 99.99% of humans. And yet you haven't thought about her except for this post. You're going to die. Everyone will move on. Do what you want.
do what you want. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like that's just one of those things. It's like like Michael Jordan's going to be brought up for years to come because it's Michael Jordan. But people are already washing him out because of LeBron. There's always going to be somebody after you. Like direct reference to somebody that I know personally. Like as good as I am and as good as I'm going to be, Owen Powell, Andy's son, is going to wash me out, and I'm fine with that. Owen Powell is a great kid. Josiah Tottenson, who just committed to UW, go Dogs! Shout out Josiah. He's actually an extremely good kid. I'm so excited to have him on the team. He's going to wash my records out. I don't care. I'm so happy that he's going to do that because I want to see him be successful. But like, yeah, it's like the Queen of England is much more important than I am, much more important than on a grand scheme of things than I ever will be. I have not thought about her at all. Like that's a great quote to pull up. Like nobody cares. Like go do what you're gonna do. It doesn't matter. And like yeah, like it happens fast. And if you don't seize what you're gonna seize, like
Life goes
you're
on.
lost. Like you're lost. Like everyone looks at Hobbs Kessler right now because he went 15-8. Like, everyone's like, well, why would he do that? Like, somebody else could have made the team. It's like, yeah, but like, forget all that. He has to do what he has to do because it's his thing. It's his thing to win. Like, everyone else is like, they want to win really bad, but like Hobbs just wants it more. Like, yeah, why not do it if you can? That like,
Right.
but like maybe they'll remember it longer because he did both. He went 331 and then 143 in the same week, like twice. Like, people remember that. Nobody's gonna remember you complaining about a workout or not reaching your potential. I don't know. Yeah.
Talking about some of your own personal results, take me through the 2024 season of Nathan Green, and
Yeah.
specifically the bounce back from 10th at NCAA's to 6th in the entire country and
Yeah.
332.
Yeah. It was a
Also,
season.
is that a national record? Is that recognized or no? How does that
Um,
work?
Technically, no.
That's
It's not
stupid.
a record because it's not in season, but all dates, all times, I think it ranks number 7, which is insane. But I think it's like Legat has the number one time at like 320, like 7. And then it's, I honestly don't know. I know Adams on that list. Adams in front of me, 331. I know, yeah, I think that those are like the only two names I really know.
I
Is like
got you.
Adam. Like,
2024 season.
yeah, but
Take me through it.
um, it was a really hard year. I mean, obviously through indoors, I just had a rough go around. I mean, I tried out the 800, got bounced in the prelim. That was extremely humbling. And like, I went into that thinking like, of course I can do this. Of course I can hit this. I've hit every single final I've attempted. Like, of course I can do this. And I got humbled really fast because those guys don't play around. Nobody in the NCAA plays around, and they don't care where you come from or how cool you think you are. I mean, I just coming off my NCAA title. If anything, people hated me even more, and I got bounced, and that was kind of hard. But as the saying goes, put your head down and work. And so that's just what I did, and I kind of just like shut up for a while. And I worked and I worked and I worked. I took some time away, of course, and then I came back out. I ran 340 against Kip Rop, or Ezekiel Rop, sorry, Ezekiel Rop, and he beat me at the line, which was a great race by him. And he put a little fist bump on me and wagged his finger, and I was like, wow, it is the Stanford invite. I just got disrespected so hard like that. Like, I was like, all right, well, got to work a little bit harder now. And then 2 weeks later, we come out and I ran 334, second to Colin, in the Brian Clay in the rain. A lot of people are complaining about the rain, and I was just like, man, forget about it. Like, let's just work hard, and that's what we did. And like against Colin, like he's a really good kid, and I really like Colin. So, I was happy to see that result. It's still very early in the season, so I wasn't shaken up about it. But then as the season kind of kept going on, I just kept getting in my head more and more, and I stopped talking to people as much, and I just thought like, if there's anybody who can win too, it's going to be you. So just blinders, forget about everything, forget about everybody. And like, I started just like to neglect the things that like were always true to me and true to myself. And it was like checking in with people, talking to Chris, talking to Andy, being close with Joe, and like respecting like where I came from versus where I'm going. And like, it ultimately just destroyed me. And like, I was in a mental space where like I could not succeed even if you put a gun to my head. Like, I was fried. And like looking back now, it's like, yeah, like that. So like I had a conversation with Chris like after NCAA's when I got 10th, because like returning champ turned 10th, like that sucks. That's not really heard of. A and B, that really sucks. And like I just kind of like, I don't know. There was just something in me that like gave up because I was so fixated on first place, and I was so fixated on being this omnipotent, unbelievable, like break your neck, just crazy guy that like you just can't maintain that. And like I was looking at so many things that just weren't. I was scrambled, and like my girlfriend was like, she was transferring out to Roberts Wesleyan with Rick and Jen Scher, who I don't know if you know those names, but they're like the greatest pole vault coach and athlete of all time. And like that was a hard reality for me to face because it's all the way in Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York, and like I was kind of frazzled by that. My dog passed away, and there were just a lot of things out of my control that I was trying to control, and that ultimately brought me down. And then beyond that, it was like I just was so out of myself. It was just terrible. It was terrible. I was on a different planet and I couldn't get recentered. But, then regionals comes to pass and I was like, wow, I made it through. Like, good job. Like, well, of course you made it through. Like, you're Nathan Green. Of course you're going to make it. Duh. And like, once I had that thought, I had like an actual, like, immediate second thought. And I was like, wow, that was the worst thing you could have ever said to yourself. I was like, of course you did it. And so I was kind of reeling from that. I just kind of lost myself in translation and I wasn't trying to compete. I was just trying to win. And like those are two different things. And it was just kind of embarrassing, not because I got 10th and not because I fell so hard, but because of who I was at the time. Not very proud of that, but that's who I was. That's how it's going to go. And I'm just going to learn from it. But, um, Chris and I had a conversation after, and he was like, based on who you were and who I saw, like, I would have been more surprised if you had won than if you had just not even made the final. And I was like, well, all right, like, yeah, that sucks. And he was like, but I couldn't have told you because you had to learn the hard way. Because if you didn't, whatever's next isn't going to happen. And, it just came down to honest conversations with the coaches. And going into the Olympic trials, it was like, obviously my ego was bare. Like, I had nothing going for me. Like, I had a lot going for me, but like, I was completely shot. And I was like, you know what? Whoever I was, whoever I thought that I was, like, forget it. Like, it doesn't matter. Titles don't matter. Nobody cares. I've just got to go run the hell out of this race. And a lot of people, like, they don't have this mentality, of course, because like it's a hard one to develop. But I was praying, like, I am, Christian. Try to be. I don't know if I can completely claim that I'm Christian because I'm not fully. So I'll just say that I do believe in God. But like, I was praying to God for this to be the hardest race of my life. I was like, God, please give me the hardest path. If I'm not taking the most miserable path, I don't want it. I want every heat to be grueling. I want every heat to be as hard as it could possibly be. And I want this to change me for the better for the rest of my life. And that's exactly what it was. I mean, through the first round, I ran 3:35 with shutting it down. Like, we came through the first, like, in the final 250, like me, Eric Holt, Luke, Sam Prakel, and I think might have been Hawker. It's probably Hawker. Um, Maybe I have no idea, but like we broke away with like 300 to go and 250. Andy yells out at me like, "Shut it down at 50! Like, shut it down!" And we come around and I kind of like take a look because tactical racing, like, it's what we've done all year. Like, I know how to do it now. Like, I know when to shut it down. Take a look back and I shut it down and I still ran 3:35, and I was like, wow, that's insane. Like, the fastest time of the day. And I was like, okay, let's keep going. I want this next race to be even harder. I want this to be miserable. I want this to be the most trying race of my life. And, we come through and I look at the clock and it's the exact same time when Colin and I ran 3:34, but I'm in way worse of a position. And all I thought was, here it is. You asked for a hard race. Let's make it hard. Because we were just getting drugged. Like, it was, Nagoose and Hawker and Elliott, and it was like just blasted. And, we're coming through, and I was like, this is miserable. I'm so thankful. Like, in the race, I'm like, let's go. Like, this is miserable. This is what you wanted. This is going to change you. And like a lot of like the predictions and like a lot of the people who were like doing these castings, like, they didn't see me making it out of the semifinal. And that didn't even bother me because, like, you're right. Like, I don't deserve to make it to this final at this rate. I need something challenging to prove to myself more than anything else that, like, I'm worthy. And like, so, we go through, we run 3:34. I PR'd. and everybody crosses the line, and everyone's like, "Whoa, we made it to the final! Like, let's go!" Like everyone's freaking out. I just kept jogging, and I kept going through the tunnel, and I just wanted to talk to Andy and be like, "This is it. Like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to hurt. I don't care what's next. I know that it's going to be hard." Because we knew like months ago, like months previous to the trials, it was like, to make this team, you're going to need to run the Olympic standard, and you need to going to be like the greatest. You're going to be your best version of yourself, no matter what. We had that day in between, and like I'm talking to my mom, like I'm talking to my mom, I'm talking to my stepdad, and I'm just like yeah, like I've been praying for this to be miserable, and I've been praying for this to be hard, and like I'm getting texts from family, and like it's just like man, like I just got to lock in, you know. And Andy told me before the race, he was like, look, like if you break the Olympic standard 333, and if you are the top collegiate, like every single year one collegiate makes it, it just has to be you. You have to be the top collegiate. And in my head, I was like I immediately was like, you know, like that would be really cool. I'd love to make this Olympic team, but I don't want to do it if it isn't miserable. And I want this to be the hardest race of my life, and I want to be able to compete as hard as I possibly can to make it worth it. And like, there is, I mean, like it's the Olympic trials, and not a lot of people talk about this, but there's agents, there's companies, there's family, there's friends, there's teammates, like girlfriends, coaches, everybody's there. But it was like, that's great and all. Like, I love seeing these people, and I want to show out for them, but like, I just got to run my ass off, you know, like, I just got to run hard. And so going into that race, it was like, I thought about nationals because, you know, same start line, same race, different crowd, some of the same faces. But I was like, you know, like it doesn't matter though, because I've just got to run extremely hard. And that nothing's going to change if I don't run with my heart. And so we're going through the race, and I'm following the race plan almost down to a T. Like I'm using minimal energy. I caught the rail. I'm, you know, keeping my position and stuff. And I look at the clock, and it's at like 140 with at 700, and that means we're about to click off like a 154, 155, 153. I think that's what Cole came through. And I was just like, well, strap in. We're about to go for it. And all I could think was just like, here it is. Like, this is your challenge. This is where you're meant to be. If you're not working hard right here, forget about it. Like, just step off the track. It's not worth it. And I come through 800, and I was just like, all right, like, I'm just going to tether myself in, and I'm just going to go. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I blow up. It doesn't matter if it fails miserably. It doesn't matter if I make the team. I just need to send it. And, you know, we come through. Kind of chilly out here. Um, and we come through to the final lap, and I'm sitting in like sixth or seventh. I don't really know. I think it might have been as far back as eight, but 300 hit, and it's like, all right, like it's miserable. It hurts. Go for it. Who cares? Like nobody's gonna remember this. And I just go, and I'm just going and going and going and going, and then coming around the final curve, I was like, all right, like people are starting to slow down. People are starting to come back. Just have the best last 80, and like maybe have a shot. And that's just what I did. I mean, I just ran as hard as I could, and you know, I crossed the line in fifth, and like a lot of people don't see fifth as a success, and like people think, oh, you're 2 spots out of the Olympics, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard in any other year, in any other team, on any other country, anywhere, you would have made it. And I'm like, well, that doesn't matter to me. Like, oh, collegiate record, unofficial collegiate record, like it doesn't matter to me. All that matters to me was that I was able to flip the switch again. I was able to be who I was supposed to be, and I just was like who I dreamt of being, and that was myself again. And the Olympic trials for a lot of people was extremely successful for a lot of different reasons, but for me it was just I found myself again, and I am back into who I used to be, and I'm so thankful for that, and I'm just ready to keep being this person.
Nathan, final question for you today, wrapping up our conversation. For those who have listened, who are fans of yours, who I don't even want to say like aspire to do the things you do, but I would honestly with you say like aspire to be the person you are and have the mindsets that you have. I mean, it's deeply impactful to me listening here. I'm like, man, I got some things to chew on. What would you say to those people? Final takeaway message.
Um, when it comes down to like who I am and who you see me to be and who people might look up to, just know that it didn't just come from me. I am an accumulation of a lot of people from a lot of different times in my life, and pull things from the good people around you and shred the things that are bad. Um, find your story and be who you're supposed to be. I mean, there's 8 billion people in this world, and I'm sure that if we lined everybody up, I'm probably just like about a billion other people. But I'm proud to be who I am, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm sure everyone else is too. But you just got to own it, and you just got to be yourself, and you just got to remember that, like, everyone's just a kid from somewhere, you know? And if you just work hard for that kid that's 10 years, in your past, like, you're going to do great things. And big or small, just go for it.
Man, I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now. So I'm gonna log off here soon. Nathan, one final question for you on a lighter note. You said cooking in the kitchen for the guys. What's the go-to Nathan Green meal up at camp?
Unfortunately, I'm not the best cook, but I mean, I'm just kind of the director. I just tell everybody what to do, and I direct the symphony. But thankfully, we have Leo Dashba, one of the greatest cooks maybe ever. Last night's staple meal is chicken, rice, potatoes, and kale. Or and he actually did some carrots too for everybody. Hero effort. Let me tell you, cooking for 20 is damn near impossible. But he had help from like our new grad transfers like Reese Hammond, Cornell guy, going to be extremely good. Justin O'Toole, Columbia guy. Sorry, that's a staple though. You get chicken, rice, potatoes, carrots, and kale. You're good to go. Um, yeah, I mean, when I cooked for these guys the other day, like everyone came back from the run, and I just was like, "Hey, you guys just want like a bunch of eggs?" We just cooked like 30 eggs, and just eggs and just tossed it out to people.
Gets
Tonight
the
we're,
job done.
but yeah, eventually I'll probably cook steaks for everybody. I think that's my expertise coming from Idaho, and it's cooked blue or rare, never well done or done. If you do that, I don't know, you're eating it wrong. But yeah,
Nathan, I'll let you go back inside, get some warmth, enjoy the nature documentaries, kick the legs up. But sincerely, always love my conversations with you. Two of the most impactful ones, but specifically today, I don't know if I'm in my feels or something, but I think more so, you just spoke a lot of wisdom that I think people are afraid to be honest and vulnerable, and I think you did so in such a beautiful way. So. Big fan of yours already, but even bigger fan coming out of today's conversation, and can't wait to see the things God has in store for you, whether that's suffering on a 10K course to help the team out or winning a national title and breaking 330. I'm sure big things ahead. So really appreciate the conversation, man. It means a lot.
thank you. Let's pray for both. Thank you.